When I used to come to Tulano 30 years ago, isn't that amazing? I used to come here 30... I am showing my age now, aren't I? Anyway, the dish that I always had, I can tell you exactly what I used to have. I used to have chicken liver pate. They were one of the few places who had that on the menu, followed by moules marinières, which are mussels and white wine. And sometimes when I was feeling particularly greedy, I would have a pepper steak. Anyway, they were always famous for their mussels because no one actually got mussels in those days. They had to be dredged. I mean, now they grow on strings. I mean, we've all seen them. They grow them on strings into the water so they don't have that sand problem. But Tulano always had mussels on the menu, and they were always their speciality, and they did them well. They used to serve tons of them because it was one of the few places in Australia that sold mussels. Now, I'm doing a different version here today. I'm not doing the classical moules marinières because I've done that on the show for you before. And what I've got here is some Chinese black beans. Now, they're salted, so you soak them in cold water for about 20 minutes, then you drain them, and then you rinse them really well. So, soak them 20 minutes, drain them, rinse them really well, drain them again. This is to get rid of the salt because they can be very salty. And I've just got 2 tablespoons there, which I'm just mashing lightly with a fork. I don't want a puree, but I'm just chopping them up, I suppose, a bit with a fork. So 2 tablespoons there, and to that I'm then going to add some other flavouring. And first of all, 1/4 cup of Chinese wine. Now, if you don't have this, you can use dry sherry, but Chinese wine, any Asian grocery has that, so that makes life easy. And then a couple of tablespoons of oyster sauce, which is quite thick stuff, so that'll take a bit. The other thing that I do remember about Tulano, now I must admit, I didn't ever order them because I don't have a huge sweet tooth, as you've noticed, I'm sure, but they used to do the most beautiful lemon pancakes, and the reason I knew that they were beautiful is because I used to steal a couple of tastes off my partner's plate. 1 tablespoon of ketchup mayonnaise, just a little bit more than that, and 1 tablespoon of fish sauce. And then just a good splash of sesame oil. We only want about a teaspoon of that, so don't get too excited because it's pretty powerful stuff. So about a teaspoon. And just whisk that up. And while that's happening, I'm just going to put the wok on the heat. All right, we'll just set that aside for a second because what I'm now going to do is just saute a little bit of garlic in a small amount of oil, or maybe a little bit more than that, but certainly not much. So just in the wok, a couple of cloves of garlic, and we will just cook this very briefly. Just to perfume the wok with the garlic, that's the aim. And then we throw that sauce in. And then some mussels. Now the mussels, I have cleaned those mussels, I've scrubbed them, and always remember if any of them are open, like that one there, you tap them. See, it's shutting. That means it's still alive. If it doesn't shut, you then get rid of it. We'll throw all those in there. It's quite a lot of them, but the thing about mussels at the moment, the ones that we're getting are actually quite small. So you really do need quite a lot. Another time of the year when they're larger, it's a bit different. All right, now this is the time you have to be a little bit careful about this. You actually have to watch this reasonably carefully because once they start opening, you have to get them out. You don't leave them in there. But what you do too, or also, is you give them a little bit of a toss around every now and then just to make sure that it distributes them evenly, so the ones that were on the bottom are now on the top, that kind of thing. Okay, as soon as they start to open, like these ones are, out they come. These are getting there. I'm just going to put a little bit of water If you've got fish stock, use that, but water will do, because this sauce will now be quite concentrated because it's cooked down a bit. And as you can see, the mussels aren't as small as I thought they were. In fact, they're not a bad size. So I've got enough here for about 300. I am going to share it with my mates, but certainly there's 3 or 4 dozen mussels there. There's certainly enough there for about 4 people, 3 people. Serve it in the centre of the table. And what I've just done now is throw in some snow peas into that mix. We will just taste this mix just to make certain that the flavours are there. Sometimes you find you need, a little bit more of the ketchup mayonnaise because you need a counterbalance for the fish sauce. No, that's fine. What I would do is put the smallest amount more sesame oil, just to give it that nutty flavour. Alright, now all we do is just scatter this over the top. If you haven't got snow peas, you could use spring onion pieces, of course. But you need some greens just to lighten it up. You then clean it up because I've made a right mess, and you can see what I mean. This is really enough for about 4 people. I'd serve this in the centre of the table, just with some soup spoons to get up all those juices. Now, that is certainly not Tolano's traditional moules marinière, but the mussels with that black bean sauce, it really, really work well. The tang of that sauce and the slight saltiness of it really does seem to work with most crustaceans, most molluscs, and certainly with mussels.